Let's go. Joe!
And you have called for unity and healing in this country. But after the events of Wednesday, does that make your job easier or harder?
I think it makes my job easier, quite frankly. I've had a number of my Republican colleagues, former colleagues. I used to serve in the Senate for a long time.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, 1 second. If I was being asked this question in Joe's position, I would also say it makes it easier, because my goal would be to politically disenfranchise Republicans. And after so many of them were complicit in enabling an assault on the Capitol, their behavior makes it way easier for me to politically justify their excision. However, I don't think that Biden wants to do what I want to do.
Call me. Many of them are as outraged and disappointed and embarrassed and mortified by the president's conduct as I am, and Democrats are. And I think...
Wait, it's not just the president. It's also like half of all Republican elected officials. How many was it in the Senate and the Congress? It was at least like 100 of them put together in some form or another. Like either... I'm getting a lot of numbers in chat, but it was quite a few of them who either openly praised what happened at the Capitol up until what happened at the Capitol actually happened, or they continued to perpetuate they would like voted to disenfranchise or like to ignore the election results from given states and what have you.
I have said from the beginning, and I have not changed my view, my overarching objective is to unify this country. We must unify the country. And I think that you've heard me say this before, and I apologize for repeating myself, but understandably the questions are repetitive.
Vosh, isn't shutting and making propaganda and stuff for Republicans the same thing Republicans are doing for us? What do you mean? Like we both drink water and breathe air. The goal, like, I am a person who believes in democracy. I'm a Democrat in like the literal sense. And insofar as that remains the case, it should be my objective to politically disenfranchise anti-democratic people. Like, that's a no-brainer. I think some people tripped and hit their head, and they think free speech means like all ideas are equally acceptable, which is not the fucking case. If you can use the law or whatever social power you have to prevent literal fucking fascists from taking over our government, you should absolutely do that. 100%. Like, the alternative is to accept oblivion. Like, this has happened in fascist movements before. The longer you let them fester, the harder it is to deal with them. I feel like America might actually be too far gone already with how many Americans believe this election was stolen.
And good. I mean, I'm not being critical of the question. And that is that there's two ways people are inspired: by inspirational leaders and by terrible leaders. By terrible leaders. What this
he's going to say he agrees with Hitler on one thing.
This president has done is ripped the Band-Aid all the way off to let the country know who he is.
Okay,
and what he's about.
Agree with this.
And how thoroughly unfit for office he is.
Okay.
And you see already a number of Republicans. I was so proud. I know we're on opposite sides. I'll get criticized from some of the people in my party for saying this, but I've worked very hard with and against the former soon-to-be former majority leader, Mitch McConnell.
Now, see, this is this reaching across the aisle bullshit, okay? Yeah, 138 House Republicans and 7 Senate Republicans voted for rejecting the Pennsylvania election results. Like, we're talking about like a significant portion of the electorate openly rejecting democracy. This is not a reach across the aisle both sides kind of thing. Admittedly, the only reason they did that is because they knew it wasn't going to work, and because they didn't want to displease Trump on the way out, because they want to continue getting elected, because if you displease Trump, then Trump fires at you on Twitter, but now he can't go on Twitter because he's banned from Twitter, but even if he was, he could have. But, man, look, Joe, your job is to reach out to the entirety of the country, and that's great. But that doesn't mean you have to reach out to the fascists they elect, okay? Those are not the same thing.
I thought what he said on the floor of the United States Senate was, in fact, the right thing to do. He stood up. He's ashamed. I spoke with a guy I have enormous respect for, and I ran against him, Mitt Romney. I spoke to Mitt this morning again. This is a man of enormous integrity, who lives his faith. There are so many more, but there's others who should be ashamed of themselves. But they make up a minority of the Republican Party. This is
Dude, it was over 100 of them. I mean, I guess they do technically make up a statistical. So first of all, we're only talking about the people who voted to reject the Pennsylvania election results, okay? When we're talking about everybody who perpetuated this lie that the election was stolen with no evidence, this is a majority of the Republican electorate. Now, Mitt Romney did stand against this, but Mitt Romney does that from the position of being a fucking Republican. If Mitt Romney had any character, he would be a Democrat. Oh, they voted to reject Arizona and Georgia as well. Yeah. But the point, now, okay, I don't know, maybe Romney is the least bad Republican, but we're dealing with a party that is like fundamentally fucked here. Like, you can talk all you want about how so many of them are ashamed, but hey, you know what I want? If we really want to talk about shame, okay, I want I want them to get up there on stage, okay, and commit no. I want them to get up there and fucking apologize in full fucking length, okay? Listen, here's the question to you guys, okay? Why is it that when a naughty little boy in second grade does something bad, they have to write out an apology, 100-word apology essay, okay? Why is that the case? But we have portions of the electorate which are trying to facilitate an insurrection who are rejecting democracy, and they don't have to write out and publicly deliver a gigantic apology. Why? Explain to me, okay? I want to see that. I want to see fucking I want to see fucking Matt Gaetz, fucking Pence, all of them. I want to go up there, the big old thing, and I want to talk. I want to hear them at length. I want to hear them reject Trump. I want to hear them reject the insurrection. I want to hear them openly say that there was no evidence of any misappropriative behavior with regards to the 2020 presidential election. I want the whole goddamn row. I want them to look red in the face, then walk off, and then it's time for the next one. We do every single fucking one of them, okay? And then I still want them out of government. I just want them to be sad on their way out, okay? I just don't like this language. Like, Joe Biden is like, they're ashamed. They're ashamed. Look, they're so sad about what happened. Well, fucking prove it. Show it to me. Indicate to me in some way that you weren't just opportunistically taking advantage of the presence of a fascist president and aren't just now walking away from it. Show me shame. I want to see the red cheeks on your face, the face cheeks.
About Republican Democrat anymore. This is about people who understand what this country's about.
No, no, it's Republican Democrat. No, it is definitely Republican Democrat, okay? What is this like? He always defers to these meaningless fucking virtue signals. It's insane. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. It's about those who understand the soul of the heart of the nation that is written in the ink of the language of the Constitution, which said in the eyes of the forefathers of this country the words of the heart of the... Like, fuck, dude. No, this is a very clear party line between who did the bad and the good here.
And the things we have to agree on and move together on. I just think that...
Sorry. I really wish Bernie was the guy speaking here. And the American people will not be happy until they see heads roll. Therefore, as a sign of good faith, I ask that one in every Republican willfully march up. No. In a video game, obviously.
If you look at it, speaking to some of my Republican colleagues, and I've spoken to a number of them over the last month since we've been elected, through recently as the day in which this god-awful debacle was taking place up on the Hill. And I think they understand that they're going to have to. We need a Republican Party. We need an opposition that's principled and strong.
No.
And I think you're going to see them going through this idea of what constitutes a Republican Party.
No, we do. No, we don't. That's not how this works. Man, this is what people say about liberals, man. Can you believe that? Can you imagine the speeches at the fucking 1945 in Germany? Can you imagine them getting up there? Listen, this is not about the Nazis or the Weimar Republic. This is about good versus wrong. Now listen, I disagree with what the Nazis did, but Germany needs a strong, principled Nazi party. Like, I don't, like, no, we don't need it. America would do just fine. Well, I don't like Democrats either, but I think that having a country where it's, how about instead of the two parties be Democrat and Republican, we have Democrat and Super Democrats, okay? How about that? Can we roll that way? What about that one? Would that be, would that be okay? We'll do a leapfrog, okay? We have the Republicans and the Democrats, and we just, whoop, and we take the party farther to the left, okay? And that's the other party. And then the Democrats can be the Republicans.
And to hear some of my colleagues, Republican colleagues, talk about how shameful it is of the way Ted Cruz and others are dealing with this, how they're responsible as well for what happened.
Do you think some of them should resign? Should Senator?
This is an easy yes. They absolutely, if you don't even think they should resign after rejecting democracy and promoting a fucking seditious attack against the Capitol, wait, maybe he'll say it.
Cruz or Senator Hawley resign?
I think they should be just flat beaten the next time they run.
Man, Joe, come on, man. Real? You can't even admit, you can't even say that. Literally enabling, like, attempted coup, attack on the Capitol, first time the Senate session has had to flee in all of American history. Cop died. I mean, you all seem to care about that a lot. They aren't going to resign, so it's better just to say this. No, the left, by the left, I mean everyone the left of fucking Goebbels, okay? The people who aren't on the far right need to be weaponizing outrage right now, okay? Listen, every December, I have to spend a month hearing about how as a leftist, I want to destroy Christmas. Why can't the left weaponize outrage better, okay? They literally attacked the Capitol. You should be doing everything in your power. Everything. Fuck them. They should resign. I want them out of here. They are a disgrace. They are un-American. I want him to be, he's angry, punitive, like a pastor promising hellfire. Every person who's not a Republican should be doing this. And the Republicans who didn't agree with that should be doing this. I think that would be optically preferable. We don't want people to get the impression, this is what the Republicans want you to believe. You don't want them to get the impression that this is okay. The Republicans are already whitewashing everything that happened. They're already, well, whatever, like, only a couple people died. BLM did more property damage. It's not that bad. It's just, we should have protests by First Amendment rights. They're already whitewashing everything that's happening, and you're enabling them. You're allowing them to do that, unless you are willing to condemn them in the strongest possible language.
I think the American public has a real good, clear look at who they are. They're part of the big lie. The big lie. I was being reminded by a friend of mine, and maybe you were with me, I can't recall, when we were told that, you know, Goebbels and the great lie, you keep repeating the lie, repeating the lie.
I said this earlier.
Well, there was a print that when Dresden was bombed, firebombed, there were 250 people that were killed. Or was it 2,500 people were killed? And Goebbels said, no, 25,000 or 250,000 were killed. And our papers printed that. Our papers printed it. It's the big lie. People will know it's one thing for one man, one woman, to repeat the lie over and over and over again. By the way, Trump said that before he ran. If you say it enough, I'm going to convince you. I'll say it enough. The press is bad. The press is bad. The press is bad. The press is bad.
Okay, I mean, well, I mean, this is all correct, obviously. But
if he's the only one saying it, that's one thing. But the acolytes that follow him, like Cruz and others, they are as responsible as he is. And so it's not about whether or not they get impeached. It's about whether or not they can continue to hold power because of the disgust the American people have for their actions. There are deep
impeachment is a legal function of the government. If you impeach somebody, or call on them to resign, you are operating within the legal allowed limits of your power. What was illegal was leading the attack on the Capitol. That was illegal. What would be legal was impeachment. That, man, come on. There are Democrats that are already drafting impeachment papers that are going to be filed on Monday. Biden is currently the head of the party, and he can't even step up to like signal boost this. So now impeachment is going to be a fucking progressive Dem thing. It's going to be a justice Dem thing. You know, the crazy far left idea that maybe there should be some kind of legal consequences after leading an attack on the Capitol building in an attempt to reject democracy. That's a far left idea. Joe won't even stand behind it, which means that the party isn't going to stand behind it.
Decent people out there who actually believe these lies because they've heard it again and again. I was with a friend of mine who's a medical doctor telling me that his neighbor said to him, he lives in another state, his neighbor's a good person, said, but you know, doc, this is true. There's a lot of chicanery that went on in this election. I said, tell me what? Well, I just know there was. They say it is. They say it is. This is a human condition. You say it and say it and say it and say it.
Okay.
The degree to which it becomes corrosive is in direct proportion to the number of people who say it. And so it's interesting to me, and I would...
What is this from today.yougov.com? 6 in 10 voters see the storming of the Capitol building as a threat to democracy. 6 in 10, 4 in 10 don't see the president leading an attack against the Capitol building to delay the fucking certification of election results as an attack on democracy. Of course, basically all Democrats agree that it's a threat to democracy. Independents are split, 55-32, undecided probably being the median. And then Republicans are mostly saying it's not a threat to democracy. This, again, like, yeah, YouGov isn't the best polling source, but it's something to look at. It's something in this ballpark, though. This is a party issue. This is a party issue. Dems versus Republicans.
I was pleased to hear some of the more prominent Republicans say to me that the Ted Cruzes of the world are as responsible in terms of people believing the lies.
Then who the fuck is Joe appealing to right now? Joe is appealing to the same group of people that I guess that Joe's been appealing to his entire life. Joe is appealing to the people in the Democratic Party who want things to return to normal. That is what Joe is appealing to right now. But I think what a lot of establishment Democrats don't realize is that that group of people is shrinking. There are fewer and fewer people who have bought into the lie of the end of history. Even your wine moms and your suburbanite NIMBYs are getting more and more agitated with the Republican Party. I don't think most Democrats want bipartisanship hand-holding across the aisle. I think most Democrats want Republicans to be ousted. If you agree, as evidently most Democrats do, that the president led an assault on democracy against our Capitol, then the logical follow-up to that is not, but now let's work with them. The logical follow-up to that is, let's make sure that never happens again. The easiest way of achieving that is, of course, to have far fewer Republicans in government. Whether you impeach them or call on them to resign or get rid of the Electoral College or anything, that's the easiest way to do it. I don't think the voter base of the Democrats is as willing to just lean back on the myth of bipartisanship as they were back during the Clinton era. I know that because my family would talk about that. My parents talk wistfully about the Clinton era because the economy was good and it seemed the Cold War was over. It seemed like things were, you know, picking up. And back then, you know, a lot of people did like this idea of bipartisanship. And bipartisanship was more viable back then because we are so partisan right now, but that hasn't always been the case. It used to be that many Democrats would side with Republicans on some issues, and many Republicans would side with Democrats on some issues. But that's not the case anymore. The two parties pretty much split straight down the road with very, very, very little agreement between them. And there's not much to be done about it except make sure your side wins. It's that simple.
Not as responsible, but similarly responsible like Trump. But they didn't say, go to the Capitol. I'll be with you. Follow. That's a different story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Available doses. Can you guarantee that everybody can get their second shot on time?
Dab on him.
The answer is I'll be talking about that on Friday.
On Friday?
Oh, that's nice. He actually responded. I don't think... Because every time Trump leaves a conference, he tries to run the fuck out of there. He actually paused and listened before responding. That's cute. Okay. I didn't expect that. Yeah, look, just the last time the Democrats stood for something, they won the presidency 4 times. Well, okay, that's a little reductive. The only point that I'm trying to make, and this is an important one, okay? And it's that the myth of compromise is beginning to wane, okay? The Republicans have not once in the past decade indicated a willingness to compromise with Democrats. So why should we run on being the one person holding our hand out? How many times do they have to have the little trick buzzer, the one that shocks you when you handshake? How many times do they have to dupe us for us to pull off on that? Yeah, Republicans literally ran on obstructionism. Republicans would boast that they would make it impossible for Obama to govern. They would boast about that. They would actually say, like, not according to us, he's not going to get shit done, not with us in there. They don't run on affirmative change or on doing anything good or on doing anything, really. Their only goal is tax cuts, fewer social protections for minorities, and making sure Democrats can't do shit. And that's it. But now we're going further than that. Now there is a significant portion of the Republican Party who we know for a fact will reject democracy if given an opportunity. Didn't happen this time, but there's at least 140 Republican electorates who we know the next time a dear leader comes around will be willing to side with them. And this time it ends in a whimper. Maybe next time it ends with a bang. You don't know until it happens, but you should prevent it from happening again.